Chapter 5249 The secret behind the bluestone tablet. Goei Batsao was frightened for quite a while, but she did not see Yun Chujio deal with it. She could not help but feel happy. Could it be that the fiend found his conscience and did not report it? Tsk, seeing that he was so tactful, it would repay him well in the future. However, it could not do anything about the matter of having sex. Besides, wasn't it good to have a pure heart and few desires? Those monks from the Zen sect never had sex in their entire lives, and they were also living quite well. If a certain venerable knew about this fellow's thoughts, he would probably have told Hei Shinjio about this matter in the middle of the night yesterday. Hei Shinjio sighed, then she hugged the quilt and rubbed against it. It seemed that Di Biming's cold aura was still lingering on the quilt. She was puzzled. Why did Di Biming remember some memories from her past life when the seal was broken, but she could not remember anything? This guy stayed in bed for a while before he got up to wash up. In the following period of time, Yun Chujio went to the library of the ancestral residence to read and train her 500 guards. She had a fulfilling life. Of course, there was also something troubling. It had been a while since she came back, and Mount Meru had not received any more heavenly lightning. This fellow thought to herself, if Mount Meru did not receive any more heavenly lightning, wouldn't she have to cause a thunderstorm again? This fellow's spiritual power had already reached the peak of the 8th level of the extreme spiritual realm, so there was no use in cultivating unless she was struck by lightning. As time passed, this kind of worry became more and more intense, and her mood became a little impetuous. This fellow did not have the mood to cultivate, so he could only do other things. She remembered the green stone slabs she had picked up in the Lianxing mountain range, and decided to build a kennel for Dog 2. Because Dog 2's appearance was ordinary, it was not afraid of being exposed to the light. It ran crazily in the yard all day long. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. When Dog 2 saw that Yun Chujio was going to build a kennel for it, it was naturally very happy. It surrounded Hei Shinjio and flattered her. Little fairy, you are really too good to me. Don't worry, am definitely not an ungrateful dog. I will definitely repay you properly in the future. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Did this butt-face really think of her as a dog? Where was the moral integrity of the fierce beast Cheongqi? Yun Chujio drew a rough sketch of a doghouse and then took out the green stone slabs. Hong Ling and the other two curiously came over to help. Previously, in the Lianxing mountain range, other than cleaning the first green stone slab, the later ones were not worth much and no one took care of them. They were all covered in mud. Hong Ling and the other two used water to wash the green stone slabs. For a moment, the small courtyard was filled with joy. Miss, this green stone slab is very interesting. Not only is there a pattern on the front, there is also a pattern on the back. However, the pattern on the back is curved. It looks like a map. Hong Ling said in surprise. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. She looked at the flagstone that Hong Ling was pointing at. There were some curved lines on the back of the flagstone. It indeed looked like a map. Yun Chujio immediately asked Hong Ling and the others to clean up the remaining flagstone. Then she placed it on the ground with the back facing up. After a while, Yun Chujio finally pieced the flagstone into a map. There were no words on the map. There was only an eye-catching mark on the map. What kind of map was this? Yun Chujio didn't have any clues, so she drew the map on a piece of paper. Maybe it would be useful in the future. Of course, she couldn't build a kennel. Maybe the green stone slabs were hiding some secrets. Although Buttface was a little disappointed, he didn't dare to say anything. His position wasn't stable now. There was the Buddha's candle in front and Hun Dun behind. If he didn't perform well, he would lose his position as the #1 spirit pet. Chapter 5250 Qing family of the Valley of Fog. Yun Chujio was bored to death and decided to pay her respects to the ancestor of the Lan family and wash her face at the same time. As soon as this guy jumped into the ancestral house, he met the ancestor. Ancestor, are you going out? Yun Chujio asked curiously. The ancestor of the Lan family lived in seclusion and rarely left his own courtyard. It seemed that he was going out. The ancestor of the Lan family did not hide anything and said, The Chi family found an excuse not to sell our Land family high-grade equipment, so I'm going to the Qin family in the Valley of Fog to buy some spirit tools. Yun Chujio's eyes lit up when she heard that. She had always wanted to buy a few high-grade flying and defensive spirit tools, so she naturally could not miss such a good opportunity. Hence, this fellow smiled like a flower. Ancestor, our imperial city is a few days away from the Valley of Fog. You are so lonely and cold by yourself. Who will bring you tea and water? Who will laugh with you to relieve your boredom? The ancestor glanced at her and pointed at Hunchback beside her. Don't worry about that. Hunchback will go with me. Hey Shinjio, the guy straightforwardly said shamelessly, Ancestor, can you take me with you? I want to broaden my horizons. Please. The ancestor looked at her pitiful look and hesitated. It was okay to bring one more person, but this troublemaker would cause trouble wherever she went. What if she caused trouble? Hey Shinjio guessed the old ancestor's thoughts and quickly said, Old ancestor, don't worry. I promise to be obedient and not cause trouble. Moreover, we are going to buy spiritual artifacts, not to fight. What trouble can I cause? What trouble can I cause? The Lan family's old ancestor thought that it made sense. He would come back after buying the spiritual artifacts in Fog Valley, so nothing would happen. Moreover, he was not at ease to let this troublemaker stay in the imperial city. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Hence, he nodded. Alright, then you can go with me. However, there is one thing. If you cause any trouble this time, not only will I strip you of the right to fight for the position of young master, but I will also take back the 500 guards that I gave you. Yun Chujio nodded obediently and agreed. However, she cursed in her heart. This old fox was really shameless. He still wanted to take back the things that he gave to others? Not to mention that she would not cause any trouble. Even if she did, it would be impossible for her to return them to him. He still wanted to take back the things that had fallen into her hands? This was simply a huge joke. The Lan family's ancestor did not know what this fellow was thinking. Immediately, he brought her, Elder Tua, and a group of guards and set off towards Fog Valley. The journey was very smooth. The flying spirit tool landed on the ground. This place is still hundreds of li away from the Fog Valley, but because of the ban on flying, we can only go there on foot, the ancestor of the Lan family explained. Yun Chujio wasn't surprised by this. Many places would ban flying either because of the geography or because of the formation. After walking for 4 hours, Yun Chujio saw clouds and mist in the distance. It must be the Fog Valley. After walking for another 2 hours, they finally arrived at the entrance of the Fog Valley. The entrance of the Fog Valley was guarded by members of the Qin family. They had to check their identity documents to be at ease. Even the ancestor of the Lan family was no exception. From this, it could be seen that the Qin family of the Fog Valley had some confidence. There was no other way. Who asked them to refine a spirit tool that was unparalleled in the world? After everyone was checked their identity documents, they were finally let in. Yun Chujio originally thought that she would reach the Qin family after entering the Fog Valley. She did not expect that the Fog Valley was very big. The entrance of the valley was not far from the Qin family. Chapter 52-51 Qin Family's Shop. Yun Chujio followed the ancestor of the Lan family for more than an hour before she saw a city. There were 3 big words written on the plaque: Foggy Valley City. Ancestor, does the Qin family live in Foggy Valley City? Yun Chujio asked curiously. The ancestor of the Lan family shook his head. Although there are Qin family's shops and many cultivators in Foggy Valley City, the people of the Qin family don't live in Foggy Valley City. Instead, they live in Green Valley, which is 30 miles away from Foggy Valley City. Yun Chujio nodded. Then, should we buy spiritual weapons from the shops in Foggy Valley City or go to Green Valley City? Well, stay in Foggy Valley City first and buy some ordinary spiritual weapons. Then, we'll go to Green Valley City to buy some rare spiritual weapons, answered the ancestor of the Lan family. The ordinary spiritual weapons mentioned by the ancestor of the Lan family were not ordinary either. As long as they were made by the Qin family in Foggy Valley, they were all high-quality goods. Even if their prices were several times higher than other families, They didn't have to worry about sales. Yun Chujio was still a little puzzled. Didn't they say that it was very difficult to buy things from the Qing family in the Valley of Fog? Since there were shops of the Qing family in the Valley of Fog City, she could buy them if she had the money. What was so difficult to buy? This question was quickly solved. After entering the Valley of Fog City, she found that there was a long line at the entrance of every shop. Moreover, even if the line reached you, you might not necessarily be able to buy the things you wanted to buy, or even nothing. That was because after the line reached you, in addition to handing over normal money, every item would have additional conditions, such as herbs, ores, and even some strange missions. If the corresponding conditions were not met, then sorry, you could only return empty-handed. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately lit up. This Fog Valley's Qing family really knew how to do business. This way, the materials they needed to refine weapons would not be in short supply, and they could also create a high-end and high-class status. This time, the ancestor of the Lan family came prepared. He brought a lot of ores and herbs, and also a lot of guards. He arranged for the guards to line up. When the line arrived, he would go over to pay the money and the corresponding herbs and ores. As there were several shops, the ancestor of the Lan family, Elder Tuo, and Hei Xinjiu were each responsible for a few nearby shops. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Before the ancestor of the Lan family left, he was a little hesitant. The reason was very simple. Naturally, he was afraid that Hei Xinjiu would cause trouble. However, he did not want to cause trouble even if he wanted to buy something. Moreover, the shop he was in charge of was only one street away from here. It should not be a problem. Therefore, the ancestor of the Lan family gave a few instructions to Yun Chujio and went to another street. Yun Chujio leisurely watched from the side. Anyway, the people of the Lan family would not be able to line up for a while. These shops needed to line up to buy things, but they were casual to visit. Therefore, Yun Chujio randomly chose a shop and walked in. If there were customers who asked about the goods, the staff in the shop would also explain, but they were not so enthusiastic. After all, there was no need to worry about selling these things. Even if there was no one to explain, there were instructions written under the equipment. They were very detailed and could basically understand it. Yun Chujio was itching to see it, especially those defensive spiritual artifacts. Many of them had already reached the low-grade immortal artifact level. This guy decided to use his official position for personal gain. When the Lan family members lined up later, he would definitely buy more. After all, she did not lack money or ores. Just as this guy was thinking happily, he heard the ingratiating voice of the shopkeeper. "Second miss, you're here." Chapter 52:52. The tree desires peace, but the wind does not stop. Yun Chujio was stunned. The sect master was so arrogant, and now he was flattering her. This second miss must have a high status. Could she be from the Qing family? Yun Chujio thought as she turned her head. She saw the shopkeeper greet a young girl with a bow and a bow. Behind the young girl were 4 maids and more than a dozen guards. Yun Chujio was slightly stunned when she saw the young lattice appearance. She felt that this young lattice appearance was somewhat familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen her before. The young lattice appearance was beautiful, but the arrogance in her eyes was really displeasing. The young lady swept her gaze over the people in the shop. She paused on Yun Chujio for a moment and frowned slightly. However, she did not say anything. The young girl said to the shopkeeper, "Give me the profits for this month. I have a use for it." The shopkeeper's smile suddenly stiffened and he mumbled, "Second miss, this is not appropriate, right?" Before the young girl spoke, a maid behind her, Han Xiang, berated, "How dare you? How dare you speak to our miss like this? Are you tired of living?" The shopkeeper became even more terrified and explained, "Second young miss, it's not that I have offended you. It's just that this shop is the property of the great master, and I can't make the decision. Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Han Xiang sneered, "You are really a loyal dog of the great master. In 2 days, all the shops of the Qing family will belong to our second young miss. Why can't our young miss come 2 days earlier to collect the spirit stones?" When the shopkeeper heard Han Xiang's words, a trace of anger flashed in his eyes, but he still suppressed it and continued to say in a low voice, "These are the matters of the masters. As a slave, I am only following orders. Please forgive me, second young miss." A trace of impatience flashed across the face of the second young miss. After Han Xiang saw it, she snorted coldly and said, "How dare you, slave? You have really rebelled against the heavens. If you don't do as second young miss says today, you don't have to be the shopkeeper anymore." The shopkeeper probably couldn't stand it anymore. He changed his previous low and humble tone and said coldly, "No matter who this shop belongs to in the future, it's still a big house now. Second miss, don't make things difficult for me." The second miss sneered, "Teach him the rules." Immediately, a few guards came forward and pressed down on the shopkeeper. Han Xiang went forward and gave the shopkeeper a hard slap. "Are you going to give it or not?" The shopkeeper's eyes were red. "I've said it before. This is the property of the big house, not the second house." The shopkeeper's words naturally attracted another round of slaps. Yun Chujio frowned. She did not like it, but she was not a good person, so she did not intend to interfere. However, the tree wanted to be quiet, but the wind would not stop. Han Xiang knew her young miss temper the best. Her young miss hated women who were more beautiful than her. She wanted to please her young miss, so she glared at Yun Chujio. "Why are you frowning? Are you trying to fight for justice? Or are you this old fool's lover?" Yun Chujio never thought that she would attract trouble just by watching a show. She remembered the instructions of the Lan family's ancestor. She suppressed the displeasure in her heart and said to the second young miss, "Miss, your servant girl spoke rudely. What do you say?" Yun Chujio had planned to let it go if the second miss taught the servant girl a lesson and apologized to her. After all, the second miss should be a member of the Qing family, so it was better not to offend her. However, she didn't expect that the second miss didn't apologize. Instead, she sneered and said, "This is the Qing family's territory. It's no big deal for my servant girl to scold you. Do you want me to apologize? Moreover, you look like a vixen. Do you still blame others for saying that?" Chapter 52-53 The Road to Death or the Road to Heaven. Yun Chujio did not expect that the second miss of the Qing family would say such a thing. Instead of being angry, she laughed. "Miss, did you mean what you said just now? Are you not joking with me?" The disdain on the second miss of the Qing family's face grew even more. "Joking? What right do you have to make me joke with you? Not to mention that my maid only said a few words to you. Even if I killed you, no one in Fog Valley City would dare to say anything against me. If you know what's good for you, you'd better shut up right now, or I'll make sure you won't be able to leave this Fog Valley City." Before Yun Chujio could speak, the shopkeeper quickly said to Yun Chujio, "Miss, this matter has nothing to do with you. You'd better leave this place as soon as possible." The shopkeeper was naturally kind-hearted. He felt that if Yun Chujio and the second young lady of the Qing family fought head-on, they would definitely suffer a loss. Moreover, he felt that Yun Chujio had suffered an undeserved disaster and was more or less implicated by him, so he advised her. The maid, Han Xiang, clicked her tongue and said, "See, I already said that this bitch has an affair with this old thing. You help me and I help you. You really have deep feelings for each other." Yun Chujio's eyes suddenly turned cold. When had her little hot-tempered temper ever suffered such cowardice? Even when her strength was at its lowest, whoever provoked her would be beaten up. This Han Xiang and the Qing family's second young miss were really courting death. "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Previously, she had only thought of the Lan family's ancestors' instructions and wanted to give this master and servant a chance. She did not expect them to be so shameless and even become more enthusiastic. Since that was the case, then let's stretch our limbs. Yun Chujio had the same thoughts and did the same thing. As soon as Han Xiang finished speaking, she was slapped by Yun Chujio. Han Xiang staggered a few steps back from the slap. If she had not been supported by a maid, she would have fallen down. Han Xiang could not believe what had happened. There was actually someone who dared to hit her in Fog Valley City. She was the servant girl of the second miss of the Qing family. Was this bitch tired of living? After Han Xiang screamed in pain, she roared ferociously, "You bitch, how dare you hit me? I'll kill you." Han Xiang slapped her palm towards Yun Chujio, but Yun Chujio was clearly still in front of her a moment ago, but she disappeared in the blink of an eye. Just as she was in a daze, she felt a chill on her neck. Yun Chujio's chilly time came from behind her. "If you want to die, try moving." Han Xiang lowered her head and looked at the large kitchen knife pressed against her neck. She was both afraid and angry. "Miss, save me. This bitch." Before she could finish her words, a bloody scar appeared on her neck. She shut her mouth in fear and did not dare to say another word. Whether it was the shopkeeper or the others, they were all shocked by Yun Chujio's actions. She actually dared to touch the second miss of the Qing family in Fog Valley City? Was she seeking death? Was it the ignorant who were fearless, or did she have something to rely on? The second miss of the Qing family's expression was very cold. "If you let Han Xiang go now, I will only destroy your appearance and spare your life. If you don't let her go, then only death awaits." Yun Chujio laughed lightly and said, "Only death awaits? I will take any path, but I won't take the road of death. Even if it's a road of death, in front of me, it has to become a road to heaven." The second miss of the Qing family sneered, "You really don't know life and death. Take her down for me. If you don't care about the life and death of your servant girl, get someone to do it." Yun Chujio slightly exerted force on her hand, and another bloody scar appeared on Han Xiang's neck. Han Xiang immediately screamed, "Miss, help! Help!" Chapter 52-54. All is fair in war. The second miss of the Qing family glared at Han Xiang fiercely. "What are you screaming for? She doesn't dare to kill you, attack." The guards immediately swarmed forward and surrounded Yun Chujio in the middle. Yun Chujio sighed, "Han Xiang, right? Look at what kind of person you are with your master. She doesn't care about your life and death at all. I really feel sorry for you. It's better to beg yourself than to beg others. If you want to live, apologize to me and I'll let you go. Otherwise, even if I can't escape, I'll have to kill you first." As Yun Chujio spoke, she cut Han Xiang's neck again. Han Xiang was scared out of her wits. After hearing the words of the second miss of the Qing family, she couldn't care about anything else and only wanted to save her life. She said incoherently, "I was wrong. I shouldn't have scolded you. I'm talking nonsense. I'm not a human. Please let me go. Please let me go." The second miss of the Qing family's expression became even more unsightly. Han Xiang, this slut, was actually intimidated by that slut and gave in. She really deserved to die. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. "Since you admit your mistake and change, I'll spare your life. Scram." As Yun Chujio spoke, she withdrew her cleaver and let go of Han Xiang. "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." She could have killed Han Xiang, but she felt that it was better to let the master and servant fight each other. It was obvious that the second miss of the Qing family was a vicious person. Han Xiang had just begged for mercy, but she would not be able to get better after she returned. As expected, the second miss of the Qing family gave Han Xiang a hard slap and said coldly, "I'll deal with you when I get back." Han Xiang's face was swollen like a pig's head at this time, and there was still fresh blood flowing down her neck. She was as miserable as she could be. She was so regretful that her intestines were turning green. If she had known earlier, she would not have said anything. However, she could not get better, and that bitch would not be able to live either. After offending the second miss, even if she had 100 lives, it would not be enough. As expected, when the second miss of the Qing family saw that Yun Chujio no longer had any hostages in her hands, she became even more unscrupulous. She said to her subordinates, "What are you still standing there for? Kill her." "Wait." Yun Chujio stopped her. The second miss of the Qing family said with contempt, "What? You are afraid now? It's too late. You will die today. Let's put aside whether you're dead or not. Do you dare to fight me one-on-one? However, you're so ugly. I reckon you're also a coward. You definitely won't dare to accept the challenge." Yun Chujio looked at the second miss of the Qing family provocatively. The second miss of the Qing family valued her appearance the most. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, she immediately sneered, "Fine, then I'll personally deal with you today. However, I have changed my mind. I will not kill you. I will break your tendons and sell them to the lowest level furnaces and cauldrons. I will make your life a living hell." Yun Chujio's eyes deepened. This second miss of the Qing family was really courting death. Yun Chujio pointed outside and said, "There is limited space here. Let's go outside and do it." The second miss of the Qing family snorted coldly and took the lead to leave the shop. However, she never expected that before she could take 2 steps, a gust of cold wind came from behind. Before she could even react, Yun Chujio had already forced her neck with a big kitchen knife. The second miss of the Qing family was a little stunned at first, then she couldn't contain her anger. "You cheated. Didn't you say that you would fight outside?" Yun Chujio curled the corner of her mouth and said faintly, "Don't you know that there are many tricks in war? But it's also true that a fool like you naturally doesn't know. Otherwise, why would you provoke someone you can't afford to provoke?" Chapter 52-55, Qing Jin. When the besieged people heard Yun Chujio's words, they were all dumbfounded. There is no shortage of deceit in war? How could it be played like this? The maids and guards of the second miss of the Qing family immediately surrounded Yun Chujio in the middle. "Quickly release our miss or I'll kill you." TSK, as expected, like master, like servant. It's really the same stupidity. I'm afraid that if I let her go, I won't be able to live, right? I have her as a hostage now. You guys should be careful. This is the best way for me to save my life. However, if you guys want to make a move, I won't stop you. Come on, let's do it. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The guards and maids naturally didn't dare to make a move. If they let the second miss get hurt, they wouldn't be able to live either. One of the guards, who seemed to be a small leader, stepped forward and said, "Miss, what happened before was a misunderstanding. As long as you let our miss go, we can discuss things. Do you think I'm as stupid as you? However, I don't want to cause any more trouble. As long as she apologizes to me, I'll let her go," Yun Chujio said. "In your dreams. Bitch, if you dare to hurt me today, I, Qing Jin, swear that not only will I make your life worse than death, but I'll also exterminate your entire family. Men will be killed and women will become prostitutes." My face. Qing Jin screamed continuously because Yun Chujio had used a large kitchen knife to cut her left face. Didn't Qing Jin care about her appearance the most? Then she would go along with her wishes. She was very kind. Qing Jin realized that she had been disfigured by Yun Chujio and immediately screamed with a sharp and ferocious voice, "I will kill you. You bitch, I will make people take off your clothes and make the dirtiest beggar." Yun Chujio stabbed her right face again and said coldly, "If you still don't know what's good for you, I'll cut off your tongue and let you experience what you just said." Qing Jin didn't dare to say anything else. If her face was injured, she could still use medicine to heal it. But if her tongue was cut off, she would become a mute for the rest of her life. At this moment, the crowd was in a commotion. A middle-aged man walked in with many guards. Qing Jin saw the person and immediately cried out, "Father, save me." The middle-aged man's sinister gaze landed on Yun Chujio. "Let my daughter go or I'll make you regret it." The person who came was Qing Yuankue, the second son of the Qing family. He was Qing Jin's father. Yun Chujio did not show any fear on her face. She said indifferently, "Senior, is it appropriate for you to threaten me without asking me anything? It's true that this Foggy Valley city is the territory of your Qing family. However, guests are guests. The way your Qing family treats guests is a little too much." TSK, it's hard to explain it in one word. Qing Yuankue sneered in his heart. In this Foggy Valley city, it was the Qing family's word to let anyone live or die. However, he was more shrewd than Qing Jin, so he would not put such arrogant words on the table. Therefore, he said, "Let Jin go first, and then we can discuss the right and wrong." Yun Chujio was not stupid. If she let Qing Jin go, she was afraid that she would be beaten up. Only a fool would let her go. At this time, the guards of the Lan family who were lining up nearby came forward and protected Yun Chujio behind. These guards basically knew Yun Chujio, and most of them had followed her to the 10,000-year-old swamp. The reason why they didn't come forward earlier was because they were certain that their young cousin was a valiant person and would definitely not be at a disadvantage. Now that they saw Qin Yuan Kue bringing people here, they came forward to help. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 52-56 The ancestor of the Lan family had arrived. Yun Chujio looked at the guards with satisfaction, and a faint smile appeared on her face. However, this guy was grumbling in his heart. Logically speaking, with such a big commotion here, that old fox should have gotten the message long ago. Why wasn't he here yet? In fact, it was a coincidence that the ancestor of the Lan family had gone to another street to buy a spiritual weapon. Seeing that the guards in line were not going to be able to wait for a while, he went into the shop to choose a spiritual weapon. Seeing that the Lan family's ancestor had an extraordinary bearing, the shopkeeper directly let him go to the second floor, so the guards who came to report the news could not find the Lan family's ancestor. The Lan family's ancestor walked around the second floor. When he went down to the first floor, he saw a guard of the Lan family running over to report anxiously, "Ancestor, the young miss is fighting with someone." The ancestor of the Lan family, what happened to not getting into trouble? What happened to being obedient? It had only been a short while before she started fighting with someone. However, the ancestor of the Lan family thought that it was nothing more than a trivial matter. Once the other party found out that the troublemaker was a member of the Lan family, he reckoned that it would be over if the troublemaker apologized. Therefore, although the Lan family's ancestor frowned, he didn't take it to heart and asked, "She didn't do anything to the other party, right?" The reason why he asked this was because he knew that troublemaker too well. That person was a person who didn't want to be taken advantage of, and she was full of bad ideas. At the very least, she had the protection of the Lan family's guards. No matter what, she wouldn't be taken advantage of. The unlucky one should be the other party. The guard who reported the news said with a somewhat stiff expression, "The young miss has kidnapped the second young miss of the Qing family. She even cut her face twice. Qin Yuan Kue of the second branch of the Qing family is threatening the young miss to release her." The Lan family's ancestor, his face instantly turned green. Good. Very good. This troublemaker really could cause trouble for him. She actually disfigured the second young miss of the Qing family? This was going to infuriate him to death. The Lan family's patriarch angrily left the shop and headed straight to the scene of the incident. "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." At this moment, Qin Yuanke, Yun Chujio, and the others were confronting each other. Qin Yuankue saw that many guards had suddenly appeared beside Yun Chujio, and his pupils constricted because he saw the marks on the guards' clothes. Were they from the Lan family? He frowned. "Are you from the Lan family?" Yun Chujio noticed that there was a commotion behind the crowd. Her heart skipped a beat. The old fox had arrived. Hence, this fellow straightened his back and said, "That's right. I'm from the Lan family." Senior, previously in the shop, Qing Jin allowed the servant girl to hurl hurtful words at others. I tried to reason with her nicely and gave in repeatedly. However, she became even worse and threatened to sell me to such a dirty place. I was forced into a helpless situation, so I took action to protect myself. Since I'm a member of the Lan family, I represent the Lan family's face outside. If I give in blindly, won't people laugh at my Lan family? Senior, you seem to be a reasonable person. You won't be calculative with this junior, right? Qin Yuan Kue sneered again and again. What a sharp tongue. This is just your one-sided statement. Moreover, no matter what the cause of the matter is, you've already hurt Jin Er. Today's matter cannot be settled peacefully. Release Jin Er quickly and cut your own face. I can let you live. Otherwise, even if you are a member of the Lan family, you can forget about leaving this Fog Valley city. At this moment, the Lan family's patriarch's displeased voice sounded, "Evil creature. Quickly release the Qing family's second young miss." The Lan family's patriarch's expression was a little ugly. Firstly, it was because Yun Chujio had caused trouble, and secondly, it was because of Qin Yuanqi's attitude. Chapter 52-57, Forming a group to bully me. The Lan family's ancestor thought to himself, although that troublemaker loved to cause trouble, from what she said, everything was caused by Qin Jin, yet this Qin Yuankui refused to let it go. He was really going too far. Moreover, the Lan family's ancestor was also an overlord of a region. No matter how inferior his own junior was, he would not allow others to bully him. However, this Foggy Valley city was the territory of the Qin family. He still did not plan to make a big deal out of it, so he ordered Yun Chujio to release him. Hearing this, Yun Chujio immediately pushed Qin Jin in front of Qin Yuankui, and then ran to the ancestor of the Lan family with tears streaming down her face. "Woo-woo, ancestor, you're finally here. I'm going to be bullied to death. It doesn't count if my daughter bullies me. As a father, she also bullies me. They're forming a group to bully me." That Qin Jin and the maids slandered me for looking like a vixen, saying that I was having an affair with that old shopkeeper. They even said that they wanted to kill all the males of our Lan family. The women were all sold to the furnaces and tripod shops. They even said that they would give me sob, and this senior from the Qing family forced me to cut my own face. Fortunately, you're here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to see me. Old ancestor, you have to make a decision for me. You also know that my health is not good. If I get angry, I will get sick. Ouch, my head hurts so much. As Yun Chujio said that, she held her head and moaned, looking like she was half dead. Everyone who watched the whole process, too sinister, too shameless, too shameless. Although the cause that she said was in line with the truth, she was lying through her teeth about being bullied to death and her poor health. She was bullied to death? Han Xiang's face was swollen like a pig's head, and her neck was stained with blood. Not to mention, Qin Jin's face was scratched by her. Who was bullied by whom? Moreover, she was still in high spirits just now, and now she was sick? Who was she lying to? Qin Jin was about to explode with anger. She pointed at Yun Chujio and scolded, "Bitch, you're spouting nonsense. Father, help me kill her." "No, I want to strip her." "Shut up." Qin Yuankui shouted angrily and stopped Qin Jin from continuing. The reason why Qin Yuankui did this was because he recognized the identity of the Lan family's patriarch. The Lan family's patriarch's expression became even more unsightly because after hearing Qin Jin's words, he believed Yun Chujio's words even more. It seemed that this troublemaker was really not to blame. This Qin Jin really deserved to die. Qin Yuankui was a junior, so it was reasonable for him to greet him first. Therefore, although he was displeased, he still bowed. However, he still bowed and said, "This junior, the second son of the Qing family, Yuan Kuei, greets the patriarch of the Lan family. I didn't know that you had come to Fog Valley City. Please forgive me for not welcoming you." The Lan family's patriarch nodded. "There's no need to be so polite. If you have anything to say, we'd better find a quiet place to talk. Don't let others see us as a joke here." "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Qin Yuankui nodded. "Please follow me, senior." The ancestor of the Lan family nodded slightly. Then he glared at Hei Shinjio, who was half dead, and left with Qin Yuankui. Seeing the ancestor of the Lan family leave, Hei Shinjio quickly followed him. What a joke! Was she waiting to be beaten up by a group of people if she stayed here? Seeing her lively appearance, everyone's lips twitched. Didn't she say that she was ill? Her illness was recovering quite quickly. At this moment, old Tua heard the news and brought his men over. When old Tua saw the miserable state of Qin Jin and Han Xiang, he knew without asking that the troublemaker was in trouble. Qin Yuankui obviously knew about old Tua. He took the initiative to greet him and the group arrived at a tea house not far away. Chapter 52-58 On account of your good looks, both parties exchanged pleasantries, and the Lan family's old ancestor took the lead and said, "Little ninth girl, hurry up and apologize to your sister Qin Jin. Although you two sisters hit it off for fun, You should still have a sense of propriety. Hurry up and go. Hearing this, Yun Chujio secretly laughed in her heart. This old fox was really mean. He sealed the words first. No matter how unwilling Qing Yuankue was, he couldn't say anything. Sure enough, Qing Yuanqi's expression was a little stiff. He wanted to refute, but the Lan family's ancestors' seniority was on par with his great-grandfather. Their statuses were not comparable at all. If that stinky girl had come to Fog Valley City alone, he could have just killed her and apologized to the Lan family with a few spiritual artifacts. But now that the Lan family's ancestor was here, he could only swallow his anger first. Therefore, even though he hated her to death in his heart, he gritted his teeth and said, "Senior Lan is right. It's just a fight between the two sisters. It'll be good if we can talk things out." Qing Jin simply couldn't believe her ears. Her father actually said that this matter would be settled just like that? "Sister Qing Jin, I didn't do it lightly and offended you. I'm really sorry. You're not angry with me, right?" Yun Chujio said sincerely. Qing Jin wanted to strangle Yun Chujio to death, but just as she was about to flare up, she saw Qing Yuanqi's warning eyes. She could only bite her lips and say nothing. "Sister Qing Jin, are you not going to forgive me if you don't speak?" "Toby, sob, I know I'm wrong. Sister Qing Jin, for the sake of your good looks, please forgive me." Yun Chujio said sobbingly. Qing Jin was so angry that she almost fainted. "This bitch." She scratched her face and still dared to mention her appearance. She must have done it on purpose. Qing Yuankue coughed and said, "Jin, no matter who is right or wrong, the visitor is a guest. Don't be willful." Yun Chujio pursed her lips in her heart. No matter who is right or wrong, the visitor is a guest? Is she trying to say that it's all her fault? Was he trying to make Qing Jin suffer and beg for forgiveness? Qing Jin squeezed out a sentence from between her teeth. "I forgive you." Yun Chujio immediately smiled and said, "Thank you, Sister Qing Jin." Qing Jin was afraid that she could not help but strangle Yun Chujio to death. She lowered her head and did not look at her. In her heart, she wished that she could cut Yun Chujio into 1,000 pieces. The ancestor of the Lan family glared at Yun Chujio and told her to restrain herself. Then he said to Qing Yunwei, "This little girl, Jiu, has not been by her parents' side since she was young, so she has neglected to discipline her. Sorry for making a fool of herself. Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Qing Yuankue quickly said, "Senior Lan, you're exaggerating." At this time, Qing Yuankue should have praised Yun Chujio, but he wished that he could slap Yun Chujio to death. He really couldn't say any words of praise, so he changed the topic. "Senior Lan, you've come from afar, so you naturally want our Qing family to do our best as a host. Since it's still early, why don't you go to the Green Valley with me?" The ancestor of the Lan family said with a smile, "Since I'm here, I naturally have to pay a visit. However, I still have to buy some spirit tools in Foggy Valley City. Why don't I pay a visit to the Qing family 3 days later?" Qing Yuankue immediately said, "All right, then as Senior Lan said, he'll go back to the Qing family to make arrangements and await Senior Lan's arrival." The two of them exchanged a few more pleasantries before leaving. Before Qing Jin left, she gave Yun Chujio a vicious glance before catching up to Qing Yuankue. Yun Chujio curled her lips and did not say anything. The Lan family's ancestor did not say anything to Yun Chujio. Instead, he asked her to continue buying spirit tools. Chapter 52-59 Matters of the Qing family. Yun Chujio knew that the old ancestor of the Lan family was preparing to deal with her at night. This fellow was not afraid at all. Anyway, the old fox could not beat her up. At most, she would cry, make a fuss, and hang herself. Thus, this fellow returned to the shop in high spirits. When the old shopkeeper saw that Yun Chujio had returned safely, he revealed a somewhat relieved expression. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and said to the old shopkeeper, "Old man, I want to buy some high-grade spirit tools. Why don't we talk in private?" "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." The old shopkeeper was experienced and naturally understood that Yun Chujio wanted to find an opportunity to talk to him in private. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Miss, Please follow me to the second floor to take a look. When the two of them reached the second floor, the old shopkeeper said apologetically, I'm really sorry to have implicated you in the previous matter. Yun Chujio smiled and said, It has nothing to do with you. It's that Qing Jin who is looking for trouble. I'm not afraid of her. The old shopkeeper had already heard about Yun Chujio's identity from the onlookers. After hesitating for a moment, he said, Miss, although your Lan family is quite powerful, this is still the Qing family's territory after all. Moreover, the Qing family is now in a period of trouble, and the second branch is extremely overbearing. It's better to be careful. Yun Chujio's heart moved slightly and she said, Previously, I heard your conversation with Qing Jin. It seems that you are a member of the Qing family's eldest branch. Why are the second branch so arrogant? Aren't they afraid of being punished by the master of the Qing family? The old shopkeeper wanted to say something but hesitated, as if he did not want to say anything more. Yun Chujio could understand. After all, this was a private matter of the Qing family, and it was not appropriate to tell outsiders. However, she could tell from what had just happened that this old shopkeeper was loyal to the Qing family. She could start from there. Hence, she sighed and said, Sigh, it is common for families of large families to fight each other. You also know the reputation of our Lan family. There are countless cases like this. Therefore, I can completely understand the feelings of the old man. The Lan family had always been famous for internal strife. Therefore, the old shopkeeper let down some of his guard when he heard this. He also had no one to complain to. He clenched his teeth and said, All right, since Miss has asked, I will say it simply. At least let the world know how despicable the second branch of the Qing family is. Although there are quite a number of collateral branches of the Qing family, the main branch and the second branch are the only direct descendants. The head of the Qing family has not decided on the next head of the Qing family, so the main branch and the second branch have been managing the Qing family's property together, so it is quite peaceful. However, in the past 2 years, the head of the Qing family has appeared less and less, and the second branch has been regarded more highly. The second branch has also become more arrogant, brazenly stealing the properties of the main branch. It is said that in 2 days, the second branch's Qing Jinghe will be announced to the public as the next head of the Qing family. When that time comes, the people of the main branch will definitely be driven out of the ancestral house, and their lives may not even be saved. Then, the master of the Qing family will just let it go? The eldest branch will just let the second branch bully them without retaliating? Yun Chujio asked, puzzled. Sigh, this is the order of the master. What can the eldest branch do? Moreover, the eldest branch was originally prosperous, but they were stupid, disabled, and missing. Even if they wanted to fight with the second branch, they wouldn't be able to win. The shopkeeper sighed. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed, stupid? Disabled? Missing? It was most likely the second branch's doing. The old shopkeeper sighed and said, Miss, it's fine if you listen to these things. I advise you to leave this Fog Valley city quickly. Otherwise, the second branch will take revenge. Chapter 5260. Hei Xinjiu gets scolded. Yun Chujio listened to the old shopkeeper's words and smiled noncommittally. She did not continue the previous topic, but said, I got into trouble today. When I go back, I will be scolded by the old ancestor. I wonder if the shopkeeper can make it easy for me to buy more spiritual weapons? The old shopkeeper was stunned at first, but then he smiled bitterly in his heart. He thought that this little girl was concerned about the Qing family, but it turned out that her ultimate goal was this. However, seeing that she had suffered an undeserved disaster, he could also be lenient. After all, in a few days, this shop would most likely fall into the hands of the second branch, so he might as well give her a favor. Thus, Hei Xinjiu bought a bunch of spirit tools that she liked. As for the additional conditions, she could not do it, so she asked the old shopkeeper to change the other conditions. As the saying goes, rules are dead and people are alive. Hei Xinjiu had always been very knowledgeable about this. That evening, Hei Xinjiu hopped back to the inn that she had booked. This guy knew that he would be scolded at night. Therefore, on the way back, this guy finished his dinner. Even if it was a big matter, he couldn't go hungry, right? As expected, as soon as he entered the inn, this guy was called to his room by the ancestor of the Lan family. Kneel! The Lan family's ancestor shouted sternly. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart, kneel my ass. I will kneel to the sky, kneel to the ground, and kneel to my parents in the middle. I want kneel to you, you old fox. As this fellow thought so, he knelt on the ground. Sigh, there was no choice. A small arm couldn't beat a thigh. As for face, it was better to rub it, and eat it. The ancestor of the Lan family said with a gloomy face, Did I feed all the words I told you to the dogs? You set aside the troubles on the ground and don't stir up trouble in the sky. You are really capable. Yun Chujio knelt down obediently and did not say anything. She thought to herself, if she really had the ability, she would not kneel down to this old fox. The ancestor of the Lan family continued to lecture. That maid of Qing Jin spoke rudely. Why didn't you reveal your identity? If that Qing Jin knew your identity, things wouldn't have developed to this extent no matter what. Did you do it on purpose? Yun Chujio was not happy this time. Although she had a stomach full of evil thoughts, she definitely did not think of this at that time. She just subconsciously questioned Qing Jin, so she did not think of anything to reveal her identity. This fellow immediately began to cry. Old ancestor, it doesn't matter if you scold me, but you can't malign me. At that time, I was furious with that servant girl. My first reaction was naturally to seek justice, so how could I still think about the matter of my status? Old ancestor, I always thought that you doted on me, but today, I suffered such a great grievance and was bullied by the Qing father and daughter, and you still scolded me? I'm really too sad. Woo, the ancestor of the Lan family was very annoyed by this fellow's crying, and said impatiently, Why are you crying? Why didn't you cry when you scratched her face? Now you know how to cry. Originally, I wanted to buy a few top-grade spirit tools from the Qing family, but now that you've scratched the face of the daughter of the second wife, why would you buy a fart? The ancestor was obviously very angry, or else he wouldn't have even cursed it out loud. He was so regretful that his intestines were turning green. If he had known earlier, he would not have brought this troublemaker here. On the first day, he had already caused a huge disaster for him. He was so angry. Elder Tu'a tried to mediate the situation from the side. Master, since it has already happened, there is no use blaming it anymore. Let's think of a way to deal with it. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 5261 was thick-skinned. The ancestor of the Lan family said unhappily, A countermeasure? What kind of countermeasure can there be? For my sake, it's already good enough for the Qing family not to kill her, let alone sell her to us with high-end spiritual weapons. The ancestor of the Lan family glared at He Xinjiu when he said this. It was all because of this troublemaker. Yun Chujio wiped her tears and said through gritted teeth, If they don't sell it to us, we will rob them. Lan family's patriarch, Elder Tua, Lan family's patriarch was speechless and scolded, To think that you are so smart. If the Qing family of the Valley of Fog is so easy to provoke, do you think other forces will always be so quiet? Patriarch, I'm not talking about robbing openly. We are going to do it covertly, Yun Chujio said with a smile. The Lan family's forefather and Elder Tu'a were stunned when they saw the brilliant smile on her face. The Lan family's forefather asked, What do you mean? Forefather, the Qing family is in deep trouble now, and their minds are all focused on internal strife. Well, observe when we get to the Qing family. If the eldest branch can help us get up, we might as well help the eldest branch kill the second branch. In this way, the eldest branch will have to repay us with good things. If the eldest branch is unable to stand up, then we will think of a way to extort money from the second branch. After all, we will not be at a disadvantage. Yun Chujio said. The Lan family's ancestor frowned. What you said is easy. We only brought a few hundred guards. What can we do? Moreover, this is the Qing family's family matter. We don't need to involve ourselves in danger. If we succeed, that's good. If we fail, the consequences will be unimaginable. Yun Chujio curled her lips slightly. Forefather, To put it bluntly, even if I didn't offend Qing Jin today, you would have returned empty-handed when you went to the Qing family. Forefather frowned immediately. What do you mean? Hey, Shinjio said with a smile. Forefather, my blood is not flowing smoothly while I'm kneeling here. My head won't turn. What do you think? The ancestor of the Lan family was so angry that he was amused. Get up. It's fine if you say Zi Wu Yin Lai, but if you say something without thinking, humph. Hey, Shinjio chuckled and stood up. She said shamelessly, I know that you are sharp-tongued but soft-hearted, ancestor. You love me the most. Yun Chujio had never known how to be reserved. She sat on a chair beside her and poured herself a cup of tea as she spoke. The corner of the old ancestor's eyes twitched. This troublemaker was so thick-skinned that he didn't know who he was following. Yun Chujio sipped half a cup of tea and then said, Old ancestor, I didn't think too much at first, but after I found out about the internal strife of the Qing family, I thought of something. What is it? I heard from Ji Su of the Zen sect that he was injured by the people of the bitter Zen sect during the Dharma assembly of 10,000 Buddhas with the king of Hell Torrential Rain Needle. It was said that the king of Hell Torrential Rain Needle took a lot of time and effort. The Qing family of the Valley of Fog basically did not sell it to the public, and only a few people in the family had it. However, among the people of the bitter Zen sect who took the stage, 2 of them had the king of Hell Torrential Rain Needle, which was obviously a little unusual. One must know that the bitter Zen sect has always been hidden from the world. How did they receive the special treatment from the Qing family of the Valley of Fog? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Therefore, there must be something fishy going on here. Perhaps the reason why the Qing family's second branch won the internal conflict was because they received the help of the bitter Zen sect. When the Lan family's patriarch and elder Tuo heard this, they immediately looked at each other in shock. Chapter 5262. Yun Chujia's guess. Yun Chujio continued. The bitter Zen sect is connected to the divine devil hall, so the second branch of the Qing family naturally doesn't like our Lan family. Why would they sell us high-end spiritual artifacts? This is still a small matter. Perhaps the Qing family has already set up an ambush for us to sneak in and kill us. After all, the Divine Devil Hall can predict that once the Qi family cuts off our spiritual artifact supply, you will have to come to the Qing family in the Valley of Fog to purchase them. This is a good opportunity to kill you. As for me, I am purely a gift. At this moment, the face of the Lan family's old ancestor could not be described with an ugly expression. It was so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. Although he felt that most of what Yun Chujio said was just speculation, he had to admit that what she said made sense. If the Qing family and the Divine Devil Hall had colluded, then if he went to the Qing family, it would definitely be a disaster. Then the question was, should he go to the Qing family or not? If he didn't want to go, he could find a random reason to return to the Lan family right away. However, if her speculation was wrong, then he would have wasted an opportunity to buy things. Seeing that the patriarch of the Lan family was like this, Yun Chujio didn't continue to speak, but slowly drank her tea. Several thoughts flashed through the patriarch of the Lan family's mind, and he looked at Yun Chujio. What do you plan to do? Yun Chujio put down her teacup. Patriarch, the enemy of the enemy is a friend. If the Qing family is really in cahoots with the bitter Zen sect, then the Zen sect will be our biggest help. You can send a message to Master Liaowu and tell him I guess. He will definitely agree if I ask the Zen sect to come over and help. Tell the Zen sect to hide in the vicinity of the Fog Valley. We will go to the Qing family to check out their background first. If they really fall out with each other, we will not be afraid of them. The ancestor of the Lan family frowned. If your guess is wrong and the bitter Zen sect has nothing to do with the second branch of the Qing family, how will we explain it to the Zen sect? Won't they have wasted their trip? Yun Chujio shrugged. It's okay. If that's the case, leave the matter of appeasing the Zen sect to me. The ancestor of the Lan family and Elder Tuo discussed it again. In the end, they decided to do as Yun Chujio said. In this way, it was better to be prepared. Otherwise, if the second branch of the Qing family really harbored evil intentions, it would be bad. Yun Chujio thought for a while and said, Looking at the situation today, that Qing Yuankue and Qing Jin probably didn't know about it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have provoked me. Old ancestor, what is the composition of the Qing family? The old master of the Qing family has passed away many years ago. The current master is Qing Yuanqi's grandfather, Qing Haotian. The eldest son of the Qing family was originally a prosperous man. However, in recent years, he had encountered some unforeseen circumstances. Some died, some were stupid, some were disabled, and some went missing. It could be said that there were only a few people left. Now, only Qing Yuanda, who was of the same generation as Qing Yuankue, was left struggling. There was no way for him to compete with the second son. The head of the second son is Qing Shaoqing, Qing Yuanqi's father. The number of people is prosperous, so I won't list them one by one. What is Qing Haoyan like? The Qing family's eldest branch is in such a miserable situation, and he doesn't care? Yun Chujio asked in confusion. The ancestor of the Lan family shook his head. I haven't seen Qing Haoyan in all these years. Every time I come to Qinggu, he is in closed-door cultivation. I don't know the details. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She thought that Qing Haoyan must have been controlled by the second branch. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left him alone. TSK, the affairs of the Qing family were really interesting. She loved to help the weak and help the strong. If the Qing family's eldest branch was pleasing to the eye, she could also help them. Chapter 5263, Qing Sihei Shinjio, who was immersed in the character of a heroine, was instantly exposed by Buttface. Little fairy, the reason why you want to help the master of the Qing family is to get more spiritual artifacts, right? You are getting worse and worse. Get lost. Hei Shinjio shouted angrily. This damned Buttface was simply a scheming dog. Nothing could be hidden from him. Hei Shinjio discussed with the Lan family's ancestor and old Tura for a while before returning to her room. The Guai Chao in her dantian was trying its best to act cute. It wanted Yun Chujio to let it out for a walk, but it had no choice. The small amount of money it had previously had was all used up. Yun Chujio scolded it a few times, but when she thought of its good behavior in the Lan family's guards camp, she still let it out. Guai Chao cursed it in its heart. Let's see. This was the reason why it could not be discovered by her. There was nothing to be said about this wretched girl if she was in a good mood. If she was in a bad mood, she would scold it. Therefore, it was better for her to control her freedom. She was determined not to let her discover that she had a small treasury. Alas, that jinx would expose it sooner or later. Therefore, it had to enjoy it in time to avoid regret in the future. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Therefore, not long after it came out, it pretended to disappear. Yun Chujio could not help but be stunned. How did it disappear so quickly? However, she did not think about it carefully. She thought that she did not release much spiritual power just now. After Yun Chujio washed up, she lay on the bed and pondered about the Qing family in the Valley of Fog. Then, she suddenly sat up. She remembered. No wonder she felt that Qing Jin's appearance was somewhat familiar, because that Qing Jin and Qing Si looked somewhat similar. Thinking of Qing Si, Yun Chujio's thoughts could not help but drift away. When she applied for the Linghua sect back then, she lacked a person. There was a little beggar who volunteered to join them, and that person was Qing Si. The thing that left the deepest impression on her was that Qing Si said that the reason she ran away from home was because her family valued sons over daughters. She wanted to prove it to her family. Another impression was that Qing Si had once saved Yun Chuki and the others with an attack-capable flying spiritual device. However, she had always kept her identity a secret, so she did not ask much about it. Qing Si? Qing Jin? Could it be that Qing Si was really related to the Qing family of the Valley of Fog? However, how did she get from the Chongshao continent to such a low-class continent like the Qing Shen continent? Yun Chujio could not figure it out no matter how much she thought about it. She wished that she could ask someone right away, but who could she ask? Her eyes lit up. She could ask that old shopkeeper tomorrow morning. He would definitely know. Yun Chujio recalled many things in the Linghua sect and thought of Yun Chuki and the others that she had not seen for a long time. She could not help but feel a little down. She did not know how they were doing. Although she wanted to go back to see them, she could not protect herself now. If she left the Lan family's protection rashly, she would be courting death. Yun Chujio did not sleep well that night. Early the next morning, she arrived at the shop from yesterday. The old shopkeeper saw Yun Chujio and could not help but be stunned. This little girl bought a lot of good things from his shop yesterday. Why did she come again? The old shopkeeper was a little unhappy. This little girl looked smart, but he did not expect her to be greedy. Yun Chujio did not pay attention to the old shopkeeper's expression. She said with some urgency, "Shopkeeper, I have something important to ask you. Let's go to a convenient place to talk." The old shopkeeper pursed his lips in his heart. Didn't she just want him to open the back door to buy things? However, the old shopkeeper thought about it. This little girl was from the Lan family. He could not afford to offend her. It was better to listen to what she had to say. Chapter 5264. The third miss of the Qing family. The old shopkeeper brought Yun Chujio to the second floor again and asked, "Miss, what's the important matter?" "Old man, do you know a woman named Qing Si?" Yun Chujio asked urgently. The old shopkeeper could not help but be stunned. "You mean the third miss?" Yun Chujio took out a pen and paper from her storage ring. After a simple sketch, a beautiful woman leaped onto the paper. The old shopkeeper was shocked by Yun Chujio's amazing painting skills. He then said, "That's right. This is the third miss of the eldest house. Do you know her?" Although Yun Chujio was prepared for this, she was still a little surprised. She did not expect that she would find Qing Si's family after going around in circles. However, Qing Si should not be in the Qing family right now. After all, no matter how fast her cultivation speed was, she should not be able to reach the level of ascending to the Chongshao continent. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she heard the old shopkeeper sigh and say, "Third miss is also a poor person. She is the only girl in the same generation as the eldest branch, so she is very doted on. However, she disappeared for some unknown reason. The eldest branch sent many people to search for her, but they were unable to find her. A few days ago, the second branch found her. However, the second branch definitely did not have good intentions. It's just that I don't know what they are planning." Yun Chujio suddenly raised her voice. "You're saying that Sister Qing Si has already returned to the Qing family?" The old shopkeeper nodded. He was very puzzled. Could it be that this little girl knew the third miss? But how did she know the third miss? Yun Chujio naturally would not explain her doubts. This fellow no longer had the mood to buy any more spirit tools. He wished that he could immediately go to Qinggu to see Qing Si. However, she knew that she could not rush this matter. Even if she saw Qing Si, she could not simply recognize her. She had to find out more about the Qing family first. When Qing Si first met them, she said that she had run away from home because her family valued sons over daughters. However, during their interaction later on, it was obvious that Qing Si had something on her mind. However, she did not want to say it. It was not appropriate for her to ask. Moreover, the most important question was, how did she get from the Chongshao continent to the Qingshen continent? Was the second branch involved in this? Also, why did the second branch kindly find Qing Si back? There might be a conspiracy behind this. Yun Chujio chatted with the old shopkeeper for a while, then left the shop and continued to arrange for people to buy spiritual artifacts. Finally, the day to go to the Qing family in the Valley of Fog arrived. Unexpectedly, Qing Yuankui actually brought people to personally pick up the Lan family's patriarch, and his attitude was clearly much more attentive than before. The Lan family's patriarch and elder Tuo exchanged a look without batting an eyelid. It seemed that the troublemaker was right. The Qing family's second branch indeed had a plot. This Qing Yuankui did not know about it before, and now obviously knew about Qing Shiacheng's plans, so he strongly invited them to the Valley of Fog. The ancestor of the Lan family said a few polite words, then he left Foggy Valley City with Qing Yuankui. "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Green Valley was not too far from Foggy Valley City. After more than 2 hours, they arrived at the entrance of Green Valley. The entrance of Green Valley was much more heavily guarded than Foggy Valley City. Moreover, the entrance was easy to defend and hard to attack. In addition, the Qing family had many exquisite spirit weapons. Therefore, after so many years, no matter how much the outside world fought, no force dared to provoke the Green family of Fog Valley. Yun Chujio sighed in her heart. It was a pity that the disaster had caused a wall. If she and the Lan family did not intervene, the Green family of Fog Valley would probably be destroyed by the second son of the Qing family. Chapter 5265, as expected, had a plot. Qing Gu occupied a large area, and the people living here were mostly the direct descendants and side branches of the Qing family. The ancestral home of the Qing family was located in the middle of Qing Gu. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the ancestral home, an old man led a group of people to wait at the entrance. It was Qing Shaoqing, the father of the head of the second branch, Qing Yunkui. Qing Shaoqing and Lan Dimeo were of the same generation, so he was the junior of the ancestor of the Lan family, so it was reasonable for him to come out to welcome them. After Qing Shaoqing bowed to the junior, he said warmly, "Senior Lan's arrival has graced the Qing family. It's a great honor. Senior, please come in." The Lan family's patriarch said a few polite words and led his men into the ancestral mansion. It was impossible for the guards to follow him to the reception hall. Qing Yuankue arranged for the guards to be taken to other places. The Lan family's patriarch didn't have any unusual reaction. He wanted to see what the Qing family's second son wanted to do. After they arrived at the guest hall and sat down, the ancestor of the Lan family proposed to see the master of the Qing family. Qing Shaoqing sighed. "Father's health is getting worse and worse. He is in a depressed mood and does not leave the courtyard. Moreover, he does not see outsiders. Please forgive me, Senior Lan." The ancestor of the Lan family sneered in his heart, but he said with concern on his face, "Then we should hurry and find someone to treat him. Do not delay." Qing Shaoqing sighed and said a few perfunctory words, then said, "Senior Lan, you should be here this time to buy some high-grade spirit weapons, right?" After seeing the ancestor of the Lan family nod, he said, "According to the friendship between our two families, there is naturally no problem. It's just that the latest batch of spirit weapons hasn't been completed yet. Senior, why don't you stay at the Qing family first and let me do my best as a host?" If the Lan family's ancestor had some doubts about Yun Chujia's guest before, he was now very sure that Qing Shaoqing had other intentions. Because even if the latest batch of spiritual artifacts hadn't been completed, he could still bring them to the warehouse to pick out some suitable spiritual artifacts. There was no need to deliberately delay the time. The Lan family's ancestor sneered in his heart, but he said on the surface, "All right, then I'll have to trouble you." A faint light flashed in Qing Shaoqing's eyes, and he immediately smiled and said, "Senior, you are too kind. We can't usually invite such an important guest like you. How can we talk about disturbing you?" The ancestor of the Lan family said a few more polite words, and Qing Shaoqing let Qing Yuankue bring the three ancestors of the Lan family to the guest house to rest first. Qing Yuankue immediately brought the three of them to a beautifully decorated guest house, and left after saying a few polite words. Yun Chujio went to her room and washed up briefly. There were handmaidens arranged in the guest house, and they served her very well. Yun Chujio was thinking about Qing Si, but she couldn't ask about it rashly. Not long after, a handmaiden came in and reported, "Miss Yun, the second miss is waiting at the entrance of the guest house. She said that she wants to accompany you to the back garden of the ancestral residence for a walk." Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. This was her chance. "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." After she greeted the Lan family's ancestor, she followed the maid out of the guest house. The moment she left the guest house, she saw Qing Jin with a stiff smile. Qing Jin's face should have been smeared with a good ointment. At this moment, only a faint scar was left. She believed that she would recover to her original state in a few days. However, she had never suffered such cowardice. She wished that she could tear Yun Chujio into 10,000 pieces. However, when she thought of her father's instructions, she could only say with a stiff face, "Sister Yun, we don't know each other until we fight. Let me accompany you to the garden." Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Sister Qingjin, you are really magnanimous. I admire you." Chapter 5266. Meeting Qingjin's expression became even more rigid. She suppressed the raging anger in her heart and said, "Sister Yun, you must be joking. Please follow me." The two of them chatted without any awkwardness along the way. Yun Chujio was extremely tired for Qingjin. She clearly wished that she could strangle herself to death, but she could not act out. Yun Chujio quickly figured out Qingjin's motive. She wanted to learn about the arrangements of the Lan family's ancestor from her. She was probably afraid that the Lan family's ancestor would have a backup plan. If she acted rashly, she would be in trouble. Yun Chujio spoke a few words, but Qingjin could not figure out the true meaning of Yun Chujio's words at the moment. Therefore, she could only continue the awkward conversation. The Qing family's garden was not large, but there were a lot of exotic flowers and plants. It was quite pleasing to the eye. Yun Chujio was thinking about how to change the topic to Qing Si when she saw a woman walking toward her. Behind her was a maid. Yun Chujio recognized the woman at a glance. It was Qing Si. Shock flashed across Qing Si's eyes, but it quickly faded away and turned into a face of indifference. Qingjin immediately vented her frustration at Yun Chujio on Qing Si. With a fake smile, she said, "Third sister, why didn't you take good care of your crippled brothers and stupid uncle in the yard? Why did you have the time to go to the garden to admire the flowers?" Qing Si's expression did not change. She said, "I picked a few herbs to make medicine. If second sister has nothing else to do, I'll take my leave." Qingjin pursed her lips and said with malicious intent, "Don't waste your energy. They won't recover. You should worry about yourself. The good days are coming soon." "Thank you for your concern, second sister. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Qing Si's expression remained unchanged, but her tightly clenched hands revealed her thoughts. Qingjin snorted coldly. "You're too unruly. Don't you see a guest? Haven't you seen Sister Yun? But that's true. A person who eloped at such a young age doesn't know what rules are." A trace of anger instantly flashed through Qing Si's eyes. However, at this moment, she heard Yun Chujio clearly say, "Sister Qingjin, who is this?" Qingjin said disdainfully, "At this moment, Qing Si from the main branch is ranked third. So it's Sister Qing Si. That's great. I'm still the youngest. In the future, I'll have another person to bully," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Qing Si's eyes reddened when she heard this. She was too familiar with this sentence. Back in the Linghua sect, when they first met, little Jiao had said this sentence. Qingjin did not know the whole story. When she saw Qing Si's eyes redden, she thought that she was angered by Yun Chujio's words. She said impatiently, "Sister Yun, ignore her. Let's go inside and take a look." Yun Chujio nodded and did not speak to Qing Si anymore. She directly walked past her and followed Qingjin. Qing Si did not have any unusual reactions. She brought the maid back to the main room. As soon as Qing Si entered the courtyard, she heard silly laughter and shouting. She knew that it must be some uncle's stupidity again. At this moment, she heard the sound of coughing coming from the study again. She did not care about what had just happened and hurriedly brewed the medicine with the maid, Rendong. She couldn't help it. The servants of the main room had either been chased out or had taken refuge with the second room. Now, she could only use this Rendong by her side. After the medicine was brewed, Qing Si carried the medicine into the study. A middle-aged man sat in the study. He had a handsome face, but his pale face indicated that his health was very poor. "Father, I brewed the medicine. Please drink it quickly," Qing Si said with concern. Qing Yuanda took the bowl of medicine Qing Si handed to him and immediately drank it. Qing Si glanced at the books on the table and her eyes dimmed. She said, "Father, your health is not good. Don't waste your energy reading these books." Qing Yuanda shook his head. "Da Fong is pressing me step by step. Only by developing a puppet that can attack autonomously can I make your great-grandfather take back his orders. Qing Yisai smiled bitterly in her heart. Even if her father could develop a puppet that could attack on its own, it would be impossible for her great-grandfather to change his mind. This was because her great-grandfather had clearly been restrained by the second branch. However, Qing Yisai did not say what she was thinking. In fact, she knew that Qing Yuanda might know this, but he was just deceiving himself. Now that De Fong was silly, crippled, and the number of people dwindling, if he didn't have any more thoughts, Qing Yuanda might not be able to hold on anymore. Therefore, Qing Yisai nodded and said, "What father said makes sense. Then you should continue reading. Just don't be too tired." Qing Yuanda nodded. After Qing Ai left, he slumped on the chair in a somewhat dejected manner. If it was possible, he would rather Qing Si never return to the Qing family. When he thought of what his daughter would face, Qing Yuanda's eyes could not help but be filled with anger. Even if he died, he would not let his daughter be manipulated by his second wife. Qing Yuanda put away the books that he had placed on the table and picked up another book. It was a formation book. After Qing Si came out of Qing Yuanda's study, she went straight to the backyard. A few women were washing clothes. Qing Si and Rendong quickly went over to help. "I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." Kam Qing Si's mother, Zheng Shi, quickly said, Nan, there's no need for you here. Go back to your room and rest." Qing Si smiled and said, "Mother, I'm not tired. Hurry up and finish washing these clothes so that you can rest earlier." "Panda's novel." Kam, the other woman, said, "Second sister-in-law, what's the point of saying all this now? Let's hurry up and wash. If we can't finish it, Yuan Han and the others won't have any medicine left." The two people who spoke were Qing Si's second aunt, Li, and third auntie. The Qing Yuan Han mentioned was the son of He. Second branch held the prescriptions of Qing Si's 2 uncles, 3 brothers, and 2 cousins, forcing the women of the eldest branch to finish laundry every day. Although the prescriptions of the second branch could not cure them, it could slightly ease their pain. Li Shi said mysteriously, "I heard that someone from the Lan family came." "Sister-in-law, doesn't your family have some indirect relationship with the Lan family? Why don't you go and ask the ancestor of the Lan family? Maybe it can help us escape from the sea of bitterness." Zheng Shi said with a bitter smile, "Let's not talk about the fact that my family and the Lan family are unrelated relatives. Even if they are legitimate relatives, the Lan family might not offend the second branch because of this. After all, the Qing family will belong to the second branch in the future." Li Shi said unhappily, "Who cares if he can do it or not? Let's give it a try. Otherwise, Qing Si will." When she saw Zheng Shi's pale face, she hurriedly tugged at Li Shi's sleeve. Li Shi was embarrassed and stopped talking. Zheng Shi stood up abruptly and said to Qing Si, Nan, mother will go in and change her clothes. After that, we will go to the guest house to visit the Lan family's ancestor." Mrs. Li hurriedly said, "Sister-in-law, you did the right thing. Nothing is absolute. Perhaps the ancestor of the Lan family would be kind enough to speak a few good words in front of the family head and let us get out of this predicament." Although as he felt that the hope was slim, she felt that it was good to give it a try. What if it really could be done? She did not have any other extravagant hopes. As long as she could keep her husband and son alive, she was willing to do anything. Zheng Shi quickly changed her clothes and brought Qing Si and Rendong out of the main room. The 3 of them quickly arrived at the entrance of the guest house, but were stopped by the guards. "First madam, third miss, please wait." Zheng Shi said calmly, "The ancestor of the Lan family is a relative of my mother's family. Why can't I go in and pay a visit? Quickly move aside." The guard was in a difficult position. Although the Lan family had lost its power, it was still the master. He did not know how to respond. At this moment, a small leader walked over and said with a fake smile, "First madam, the second elder will hold a banquet to entertain the Lan family's ancestor tonight. You can pay him a visit when the time comes. You are not in a hurry, right?" Zheng Shi naturally understood the meaning of the small leader. He did not want her to meet the Lan family's ancestor alone. He did not want her to say anything that would harm the second family. Zheng Shi wanted to force her way in, but how could the mother and daughter be a match for these people? In the end, not only would they not be able to enter, they might even be humiliated. As for the banquet, they didn't even have the right to attend. Qing Si didn't say anything, because she felt that little Jiao should be coming back from the garden soon. Sure enough, she caught a glimpse of a few figures approaching from afar. They were Yun Chujiao, Qing Jin, and the others. Qing Jin and Yun Chujiao chatted awkwardly for a while, but they could not find any useful information. Naturally, they did not have the patience to deal with Yun Chujiao. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Yun Chujiao saw Zheng Shi and Qing Si at the gate of the courtyard. Her eyes deepened, but she did not say anything. Qing Jin frowned and said, "Aunt, why are you here?" Zheng Shi said lightly, "My family and the Lan family have some relatives, so I want to go in and greet the Lan family's ancestor." "Qing Jin, you came at the right time. Ask them to let us in." Qing Jin pursed her lips. "Aunt, the ancestor of the Lan family is an important guest. You'd better not go in and disturb him. If you want to pay your respects, we'll talk about it at the banquet. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and send Aunt and Third Miss back to the main room." Panda's novel. This girl looked very unfamiliar, so she should be from the Lan family. Therefore, Zheng Shi did not care about her face and said in a fawning manner, "Miss, you are from the Lan family, right? Can you please send a message to the old ancestors saying that the younger generation of the Zheng family wants to see you?" Yun Chujiao showed a somewhat contemptuous look. "Zheng family? Why haven't I heard of it? Didn't Sister Qing Jin say so? If you have the heart to see me, we can talk about it at the dinner party." Qing Jin's expression became even more smug when she heard Yun Chujia's words. The Lan family was not stupid, so how could they be close to them? Zheng Shi's face suddenly turned red. Although she had expected it when she came, she did not expect a junior of the Lan family to be so rude to her. At this moment, Qing Si stepped forward to support Zheng Shi and said, "Mother, let's go back." Zheng Shi gritted her teeth and shouted with all her strength, "Ancestor, Zheng Xiaonyang requests to see you." In fact, when Zheng Shi was talking to the guards, the Lan family's ancestor and elder Tua had heard it, but they were not prepared to pay attention to it, in case the two houses were suspicious. However, now that he sure was shouting so loudly, it would not make sense for her to pretend that she did not hear it. The Lan family's ancestor gave Elder Tua a look, and Elder Tua went into the courtyard and said, "Come in." Lady, he immediately pushed aside the guards who were blocking her way and walked in with Qing Si and Rendong. Qing Jin stomped her feet angrily, but it was not good to stop them. She thought about it and decided to follow them in to take a look. At this moment, she heard Yun Chujiao say, "Sister Qing Jin, what kind of ointment is on your face? Why do I see that the scar seems to be a little deeper than before? Is it because of the sun?" When Qing Jin heard this, how could she still care about Zheng Shi? She glared fiercely at Yun Chujiao and left hurriedly with her maid. She probably went back to look at herself in the mirror. Yun Chujiao revealed a puzzled expression, shook her head, and then entered the guest house. In the guest house's living room, Zheng Shi and Qing Si were already kneeling on the ground. As for Rendong, he was taking a walk in the courtyard. Zheng Shi said with tears streaming down her face, "Old ancestor, I know it's a bit rash to ask to see you, but I can only ask for your help." The Lan family's old ancestor's expression was very cold. "Get up and speak." Zheng Shi saw the Lan family's old ancestor's expression and her heart instantly turned cold. She smiled bitterly in her heart. That's right, if she was the Lan family's old ancestor, she wouldn't have gotten involved in this mess. However, Zheng Shi still felt lucky and said, "Ancestor, to tell you the truth, the family head has already been suppressed by the second elder. He is basically their puppet. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. The male members of our big branch have met with misfortune one after another. They are stupid and disabled. The second branch is pressing on step by step. In a few days, the second elder will officially take over the position of the family head of the Qing family. At that time, everyone in our main branch will most likely lose their lives. The expression of the Lan family's patriarch did not change. He asked, "What do you want me to do for you? After all, this is a family matter of your Qing family. It is not good for me to be involved in it." Jing Shi heard this and she knelt on the ground again. "Patriarch, I do not expect you to save everyone in our main branch. As long as you can protect Nan Nan's life or send her to another continent, I am willing to give all the assets of the main branch to you in return." When Yun Chujio entered, she happened to hear what Jing Shi said. She could not help but sigh. This Jing Shi was really good to Qing Si. How could she have the preference for boys over girls that Qing Si had mentioned at that time? Qing Si's eyes were red. She bit her lips tightly, her heart filled with guilt. Before the Lan family's old ancestor could speak, Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Auntie, don't make things difficult for the old ancestor. Miss Qing Si is a member of the Qing family. Our Lan family doesn't have the time to meddle in your business." Zheng Shi's face turned even paler as she looked pleadingly at the Lan family's patriarch. However, to her disappointment, the expression of the Lan family's patriarch didn't change at all. What little ninth girl said makes sense. It's not appropriate for our Lan family to interfere in your Qing family's matters. Please leave. Zheng Shi smiled bitterly and stood up. As expected, it was easier to add flowers to the brocade than to send charcoal in the snow. This trip had been in vain. Pandas novel. Kam Qing Jin saw Zheng Shi's dejected look and could not help but sneer in her heart. She knew that the Lan family would not bother with them at all. However, her father had lectured her and insisted that she come back to keep an eye on them. Chapter 5270 The Past of Qing Si. When it turned out that Qing Jin had run into Qing Yuankui on the way and had been scolded. She had no choice but to turn back. Qing Jin said a few sarcastic words. Seeing that Zheng Shi was about to collapse, she felt very satisfied. She proudly turned around and left with the maid. "Mother, let's go back." Qing Si said lightly, but her right hand was tightly holding a voice transmission talisman. Just now, when she and Yun Chujio passed each other, a voice transmission talisman was stuffed into her hand. Her heart warmed up. She knew that little Jiao would not sit idly by. The reason why she said those harsh words was to confuse the second wife. Qing Si accompanied Jing Shi back to the main room. Li Shi and He Shi, who were looking forward to it, saw Zheng Shi's dejected look and knew that things did not work out. Naturally, they were very disappointed. Qing Si found an excuse to return to her room. Her hand trembled as she took out the voice transmission talisman. For a moment, she did not know where to begin. Fortunately, the voice transmission talisman started to tremble. "Miss Qing Si, I'm sorry. I'll apologize to Auntie in the future. Quickly tell me, what exactly is going on?" Qing Si's eyes could not help but heat up. She sorted out her thoughts and told her everything. Before Qing Si was born, the Qing family's eldest son was a male, so Qing Si was doted on by the eldest son. However, Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shijue said that the path of artifact refinement was too hard and was not suitable for girls, so they kept letting Qing Si learn artifact refinement. Not only that, they also said that girls did not need to train too hard and let her learn more zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. In this way, Qing Si's cultivation level was naturally the lowest among her peers, and she often heard people laughing at her behind her back. In addition, Qing Luo and Qing Jin from the second branch would fan the flames by Qing Si's ears from time to time, saying that Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shi valued sons over daughters. Qing Si had some opinions about her parents, thinking that they valued her 3 older brothers and looked down on her. Qing Si was protected too well by Zheng Shi, so she did not understand the wickedness of people. Instead, she treated the 2 of them as good sisters. Qing Luo and Qing Jin took advantage of Qing Si's eagerness to learn how to refine weapons. They often brought her to the second branch's refining room to observe the refining process. Qing Si trusted the 2 of them even more. The 3 of them often went out to play, and each time, they would bring a handsome guard. Qing Si was simple-minded and did not care about this matter at all. When Qing Si was 14, it coincided with the clan's triennial competition. Therefore, the Zheng Shi and Qing Yuankui paid less attention to Qing Si. Therefore, when the guard sent a message to Qing Si saying that Qing Luo and Qing Jin had invited her to visit the mountains, she did not doubt it at all. However, she did not expect that it was not Qing Luo and Qing Jin who were waiting for her, but the fierce-looking guard. "Third miss, you don't know, right? Now there are rumors that you and I are having an affair. Why don't we just do it?" Qing Si was obviously frightened. "Where are the eldest and second sisters? They will be here soon. Don't mess around." "Third miss, you are really stupid. Do you think they don't know that I did this? If it wasn't for them, how could I have gotten close to you?" Although the guard was a little afraid that the eldest house would not let him off, Qing Luo and Qing Jin told him that a woman's chastity was the most important. As long as he was cooked, he would at most be beaten up. De Fong still had to marry Qing Si to him in the end. Thinking that he could have both beauty and money, the guard could not care about anything else. He immediately used force. Chapter 5271. Qing Sis passed 2 for a moment. Qing Si felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. She wanted to send a message to her parents, but the forest they were in was forbidden to use talisman seals. For a moment, there was no way out for her, so she could only resist desperately. Fortunately, she had many life-saving spiritual artifacts given to her by Qing Yuankui. Although there was a huge difference in strength, she still managed to stagger into the depths of the forest. She did not know what kind of formation she had accidentally fallen into, but when she opened her eyes again, she had already arrived at the Qing Xian continent. However, her cultivation base had been greatly damaged, and there was almost nothing left. If it were not for the few remaining spiritual tools and talismans on her, she might not have been able to see Yun Chujio in the future. After experiencing such a huge change, she had become unable to trust anyone. That was why when she first met Yun Chujio and the others, she had said that she had run away from home because her family valued sons over daughters. Of course, Qing Si was still a little unconvinced. She felt that her parents did not let her learn how to refine weapons and did not let her cultivate properly because they looked down on women. That was why when she first met Yun Chujio, who was also a woman, she chose to be close to Yun Chujio. Countless times, she was glad that she had made the right choice. If it were not for the fact that she was close to Yun Chujio, not to mention her cultivation level, at least it would be difficult for her to walk out of the haze of being framed by Qing Luo and Qing Jin. Moreover, the Yun siblings had given her the same kind of friendship as family, allowing her to no longer be as fearful and uneasy as before. To be honest, she felt that she might not be able to return to the heavy cloud continent in her lifetime. After all, the Qing Xian continent's level was too low. However, she didn't expect that because she got to know Yun Chujio, she had obtained countless cultivation resources and fortuitous encounters. Hence, she was able to quickly ascend to the immortal origin continent. Just when she was full of confidence and thought that she might be able to return to the great firmament continent in a few years, the Qing family's second branch found her. They used Qing Yuankui and Zheng Shi's lives to threaten her, so Qing Si could only submit. After Qing Si returned to the Qing family, she saw the tragic state of the eldest branch and couldn't help but blame everything on her youth and ignorance, thinking that she had harmed everyone. In fact, this matter had nothing to do with Qing Si. Even if she did not go missing, she would not be able to turn the tide. However, Qing Si was a little obsessed and felt that it was all her fault. After listening to Qing Si's simple story, Yun Chujio comforted her, "In life, who has not been a fool a few times? So, let the past be the past." Qing Si, Miss Qing Si, puzzled. "How did the second branch find you? And why did they insist on bringing you back? What are their intentions?" "I don't know how they found me, but I know the reason why they brought me back. Because of my special constitution, they wanted to give me to Xianji of the Bitter Zen sect as a furnace and a cauldron," Qing Si said with a sneer. Yun Chujio almost threw the voice transmission talisman on the ground. What was that? Xianji? A furnace and a cauldron? Wasn't Xianji a monk? I only found out the truth after I came back. Back then, My parents didn't let me learn how to refine artifacts and didn't let me cultivate diligently because I had the body of a mystical lady. If my cultivation reached a certain level, people would easily see through my constitution. Body of a mystical lady? Yun Chujio had read relevant records in some ancient books. It was said that if a man who had sex with the body of a mystical lady cultivated some secret technique, his strength would greatly increase. Miss Ching Si, don't be afraid. As long as we work together, we will definitely be able to break the current predicament, Yun Chujio said resolutely. After listening to Ching Si's words, Yun Chujio had basically deduced the truth of the matter. The second branch of the Qing family probably unintentionally found out about Qing Si's special constitution, so they used this as a condition to get Xian Ji's help. Of course, Qing Si was only one of the chips. The second branch of the Qing family probably also offered a lot of spiritual weapons, such as the torrential rain Yama needle in Yuan Guang and Yuan Jis hands. As for what happened to Qing Si's uncle and brother, it was naturally related to the bitter Zen sect. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking, Qing Si sent a voice transmission talisman again. Little Jio, I believe you. What should we do next? Qing Si recalled that when she applied for the Linghua sect a few years ago, no one thought highly of their Qing Yun group, but they still managed to get into the Linghua sect in the end. In this world, there was nothing that little Jio could not do. It was Qing Si's good fortune to be able to meet little Jio. There's no rush, I'll think about it again. Alright, how are my grandfather, brothers, and sisters? Yun Chujio asked somewhat nervously. Her homesickness became even more timid. Although she knew that regardless of whether it was the Qing Xian continent, the Tian Yuan continent, or the immortal Yuan continent, all of her forces existed, and her relatives should be safe and sound, she was still a little worried. After all, the Divine Devil Hall would not give up on their evil intentions. They might even take action in secret. Qing Si said in a teasing tone, "Don't worry. Your gigolo arranged things very well. Not only did he send people to protect us, but he also gave us a lot of cultivation resources. However, Grandpa Yun is old and has limited talent, so he can only stay in the Tian Yuan continent. Sister Chu Wu and the others have already ascended to the immortal Yuan continent and entered the Hun Yuan sect and the murderous Yuan sect, respectively. With the title of Little Ancestor Yun, everyone is living very well. When the Qing family found me, if I didn't take the initiative to leave with them, they wouldn't have been able to take me away by force." Yun Chujio was both happy and confused. The pretty boy had arranged this? Why didn't she know? This Tsundra always did some things silently without telling her. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Yun Chujio's heart welled up with a trace of sweetness. When she thought about how Yun Xiaotian and the others were doing very well, she couldn't help but feel happy. She felt that Qing Gu really didn't come for nothing this time. Yun Chujio chatted with Qing Si for a while more before putting away the voice transmission talisman and thinking about her next plan. The matter was a bit tricky. She had to make a good plan. Otherwise, Qing Gu would be easy to defend and hard to attack. The Zen sect might not be able to attack in time. It would be best if she could outsmart them and not waste a single soldier. This guy decided to think of a plan after the dinner. After all, the second branch of the Qing family couldn't figure out the old fox's arrangements at the moment, so they wouldn't act rashly. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio took out Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman. She wanted to ask Qing Si about the matter, but she was disappointed to find that the voice transmission talisman was still unable to be sent successfully. Obviously, Di Baiming's location did not allow it. This fellow could not help but feel a little disappointed. She took out her speech book and looked at it. There was no other way. Her spiritual power had already reached its saturation state. It was useless to cultivate any further unless she was struck by lightning. Goei Batsao, who was in his boots, let out a sigh of relief. It was a close call. It was a close call. Fortunately, the evil star's voice transmission talisman could not be used. Otherwise, it would be exposed. Panda's novel. Comnet, hurry up and come. It could not wait any longer. Go Weiba tale was going to stir up the entire Green Valley. Soon it was time for the banquet. The ancestor of the Lan family brought old Tuo and Yun Chujio to the venue of the banquet. Qing Shaoqing came up to them and said, "Senior Lan, please take a seat." The ancestor of the Lan family naturally would not turn the tables. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he still sat on the guest seat. Qing Shaoqing asked the juniors to greet the ancestor of the Lan family one by one. Yun Chujio realized that the big house was not attended by anyone. However, it was also true that the family scandal could not be exposed. Qing Shaoqing naturally would not make things uncomfortable for himself. The ancestor of the Lan family also tactfully did not ask, as if he did not know that the Qing family had a large house. However, he did not expect that Qing Yuanda would bring the Zheng Shi and Qing Si in before the banquet had officially started. Qing Shaoqing's expression immediately turned gloomy. However, he could not chase the three out in front of outsiders, so he could only pretend to be concerned and said, "Pandas novel." Qing Yuanda said lightly, "Thank you for your concern, second uncle. I'm already better. With an important guest coming, it's not good for our eldest house to avoid meeting him." Qing Shaoqing was annoyed, but he could not say anything. Qing Yuanda walked to the front of the Lan family's ancestor and bowed. He only greeted him politely and did not say anything else. Qing Shaoqing was slightly relieved. Although he was sure that the Lan family would not get involved in the affairs of the Lan family, he had other plans, so it was better to not cause any trouble. After the three of them took their seats, the banquet officially began. After a while, Qing Yuanda raised his wine glass to toast the ancestor of the Lan family. His pale face became a little ruddy. His hand trembled slightly as he said, "Senior Lan, I heard that the younger generation of the Lan family has many talents, and most of them are not married yet. I intend to marry the Lan family. What do you think, Senior? I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." Kongklang. The wine glass in Qing Yuanqi's hand accidentally fell to the ground. Although it did not shatter, the sound it made Qing Shaoqing frown. Qing Shaoqing was furious and quickly scolded, "Yuanda, aren't you being a little too abrupt? How can a child's marriage be child's play?" Qing Yuanda said with a slight coldness, "My parents have passed away, and my grandfather has been in seclusion all year round. What's wrong with me as a father, arranging a marriage for my daughter?" Yun Chujio sighed in her heart. Qing Yuanda and Zheng Shi were really good to Qing Si. Whether it was the deliberate cover-up when she was young or the desperation at this moment, they were all for her safety. She thought of her parents who were locked up in the Zen sect and felt a little bitter. She did not complain, but she felt that her life was too bitter. She did not enjoy the love of her parents in both her past and present lives. Therefore, she turned her bitterness into motivation and began to eat and drink. The ancestor of the Lan family said with a smile, "The daughters of the Qing family are precious. Of course, the Lan family would love to have them. However, we cannot rush this matter. We will talk about it in detail when we have time." Qing Shaoqing's eyes flashed when he heard that. He couldn't figure out the true thoughts of the ancestor of the Lan family for a moment. He said with a smile, "Senior Lan is right. Marriage is the best way to marry two families. Naturally, we have to be cautious." His words were obviously a pun, implying that the ancestor of the Lan family would be the second son of the Qing family in the future. There was no benefit in marrying the eldest son. Qing Yuanda sat back in his seat with some disappointment. If the ancestor of the Lan family could agree to the marriage, at least Qing Si would be able to avoid the disaster. However, judging from his appearance, it was probably just a perfunctory response. However, for the sake of his daughter, he could not give up no matter what. From the looks of it, this was the safest way. Qing Si's face remained expressionless. She looked at He Xinjiu, who was fighting with the chicken drumstick, and silently thought to herself, "Bear with it. Little Jiu will think of a way soon. Everything will be fine." At this moment, there was a commotion outside. A guard hurriedly ran in, ignoring the presence of guests, and said, "Second elder, something has happened." Qing Shaoqing's face immediately darkened, and he said unhappily, "Can't you see that there's a distinguished guest present? What's the point of panicking? The guard's legs went soft from the shock of Qing Xiacheng's gloomy face, and he directly knelt on the ground, saying in a cowardly manner, "Second elder, please forgive me. This matter is urgent, and I've been rude." Only then did Qing Xiacheng's expression ease up a little, and he asked, "What exactly happened?" Now that the entire Qing family was under his control, what else could happen? Thinking of this, Qing Xiaoqing picked up the teacup and pretended to be calm. "Second elder, I don't know why the sky-shaking crossbow was activated by itself and destroyed more than half of the spiritual artifacts in the warehouse." Before the guard could finish his words, the teacup in Qing Xiacheng's hand fell to the ground with a clang. He suddenly stood up and stared at the guard. "What did you say?" The guard was frightened by Qing Xiacheng's malicious eyes, but he still repeated, "I don't know why the sky-shaking crossbow was activated by itself and destroyed more than half of the spiritual weapons in the warehouse." Qing Xiaoqing only felt a buzzing sound in his head. The sky-shaking crossbow was the most powerful treasure of the Qing family. Since the sky-shaking crossbow had already given birth to a Qi Ling, there was no way to forcefully recognize it as its owner. Therefore, it had been placed in the warehouse. The Qing family's warehouse was strictly guarded. There were 5 checkpoints, so they were not afraid of being stolen. However, why did the sky-shaking crossbow suddenly go crazy? And it even destroyed all the spiritual weapons in the warehouse? At this moment, Qing Xiaoqing was not in the mood to pretend to be polite with the ancestor of the Lan family. After hurriedly apologizing, he rushed to the warehouse. He Xingjia's eyes flashed. She did not have the self-awareness of being a guest and followed behind. The ancestor of the Lan family and Elder Tu Ao looked at each other and shamelessly followed. "I think you should take a look at Panda's novel." The Qing family was in a mess. Qing Xiaoqing and the others were even more confused. No one paid attention to them, so the 3 of them swaggered behind to watch the show. Qing Yuanda began to cough violently. Although the family business had been swallowed by the second branch, it was still the legacy left behind by their ancestors. When he heard that more than half of the spiritual artifacts had been destroyed, how could he not be anxious? Zheng Shi patted his back gently and comforted him. "Perhaps the matter isn't that serious. Husband, don't worry." Qing Isai thought to herself, could it be that little Jiao did this? This way of doing things was too much in line with little Jiao. However, she didn't know how little Jiao did it. Thinking of this, she said to Qing Yuanda, "Father, if you are worried, let's go and take a look." Panda's novel. Calmness. Qing Yuanda immediately brought Zheng Shi and Qing Si to the warehouse. At this moment, Qing Xiaoqing and the others had already arrived at the storeroom. When everyone saw the messy storeroom, they could not believe their eyes. Although the spirit weapon was powerful, it had to be activated in order to unleash its full strength. If it was not activated, its sturdiness would not be very good. In addition, the heaven-shocking crossbow was the Qing family's most treasured home. It was an offensive immortal weapon, so the scene could be described as a mess. What made them the most confused was that the heaven-shocking crossbow was still in its attacking state. It seemed like it would go crazy again at any time. Qing Xiaoqing saw the state of the heaven-shocking crossbow and was so scared that he took 2 steps back. Although he was confident that he could dodge the attack of the heaven-shocking crossbow, it was still a little difficult for him to be unharmed. Panda's novel. Qing Xiaoqing really did not understand how this heaven-shocking crossbow had gone mad. That's right, he felt that there was something wrong with the weapon spirit of the heaven-shocking crossbow. Otherwise, it would not have destroyed many spirit weapons for no reason, and it would not have shown the attitude of attacking the members of the Qing family at this moment. There was only one way to deal with the crazy weapon spirit, and that was to throw the heaven-shocking crossbow into the refining furnace and refine it again. However, in this way, the quality of the heaven-shocking crossbow would definitely be greatly reduced, and it might even be completely destroyed. How could it suddenly go mad? The reason why the heaven-shaking crossbow went mad was naturally because Go Weiba had done it. Before He Xinjiao went to the banquet, Go Weiba had already sneakily hid in a corner of the house. After Yun Chujio left, this fellow shook its leaves. The sky had turned dark, and the happy time that belonged to its Goei Batsao had arrived. Biming, that fiend, would soon expose it, so it had to do as it pleased and make as much trouble as it wanted, so that it would not let down this good time. Anyway, the smelly girl wanted to deal with the Qing family, so no matter how ridiculous it acted, the little girl would not be angry. Moreover, it was useless to be angry, because she did not know that it was Go Weiba who did it. Therefore, Go Weibatsao used the cover of the night to run around the Qing family. Its body was too small, and it was very agile. Therefore, even though the Qing family was heavily guarded, this fellow quickly went to many places. This fellow even dared to stay near the banquet hall for a while. The grass leaf placed its hands on its waist and laughed proudly in its heart. "Stinky girl. The baby is right here. If you have the ability, come and beat the baby." This fellow entertained itself for a while and felt a little bored, so it continued to hop around. It soon discovered the heavily guarded warehouse, but this so-called heavily guarded warehouse was of no use to it. The Qing family's warehouse was not set up with a formation, so Goei Batsao smoothly slipped through the crack in the door. Goei Batsao jumped on the spirit tool and soon saw a giant crossbow. I think you should take a look at Panda's novel. Goei Batsao had recently started to learn to read in secret in order to get rid of the title of illiteracy. As for the effect, so far, it had recognized more than 10 words. This guy did not know the word jing, and did not know the word crossbow. He only recognized the word tion. He immediately shook the leaves of the grass. This stupid thing dared to call it tion. It was really shameless. Even its dog tail did not dare to call it Go Weiba. This stupid thing actually dared to call it that. It really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. It really overestimated itself. In its anger, Go Weibatsao grew taller. With its hands on its waist, it pointed the leaves of the grass at the heaven-shocking crossbow and cursed. The weapon spirit of the heaven-shocking crossbow had been in a dormant state. Coincidentally, it woke up at this time. Although it did not know what Go Weibatsao was saying, it looked like Go Weibatsao was scolding it. As the most precious treasure of the Qing family, although the heaven-shocking crossbow did not recognize its master, even the second elder did not dare to speak ill of it. This damn thing actually dared to scold it? The heaven-shocking crossbow was immediately enraged. Hence, it smashed towards Go Weibatsao. Go Weibatsao nimbly dodged the heaven-shocking crossbow, and its little bad temper immediately flared up. It was Go Weiba fortune that it was willing to scold it. It actually dared to beat it? It was really rebellious. Hence, Go Weibatsao used the grass leaves to whip the sky-shocking crossbow, wanting to send the sky-shocking crossbow flying. The sky-shocking crossbow never expected that this damn thing would actually dare to whip it. It was momentarily careless and was sent flying by Go Weibatsao, slamming into the wall. The sky-shocking crossbow was also angry. It immediately shot an arrow at Go Weibatsao. Chapter 5276. The aggrieved heaven-shocking crossbow. Go Weibatsao saw that the heaven-shocking crossbow was shooting at it, so he immediately shrunk his body again and deftly avoided the arrow. After he dodged the arrow, he proudly hooked the grass leaves towards the heaven-shocking crossbow. He was as arrogant as he could be. The heaven-shocking crossbow had never been provoked like this before, so it immediately shot another arrow. Go Weibatsao once again perfectly dodged the arrow. It proudly twisted its body, almost making the heaven-shocking crossbow explode in anger. The heaven-shocking crossbow did not care about anything else. One arrow after another was shot out. It did not hit Go Weibatsao, but it accidentally injured many other spirit weapons. The heaven-shocking crossbow was bent on killing Go Weibatsao. How could it care about this? The guards outside did not have the key to the storeroom. By the time their leader arrived and opened the door to the storeroom, it was already a mess inside. Go Weibatsao took the opportunity to sneak out of the storeroom. The heaven-shocking crossbow followed behind angrily, scaring the guards into hurriedly closing the storeroom's door. The heaven-shocking crossbow was about to explode in anger. Were they blind? Didn't they see that damn thing sneak out? Therefore, when Qing Shaoqing ordered people to open the storeroom, the crossbow was ready to attack because it saw a faint purple light flash in the distance. That damn thing must be hiding there. However, when the crossbow saw Qing Shaoqing and the others, it slightly recovered from its anger and did not forcefully rush out of the storeroom. Qing Shaoqing saw that although the sky-shocking crossbow was in an attacking state, it did not have any intention of attacking him. Only then did he feel slightly relieved. He said angrily, "Sky-shocking crossbow, what are you doing?" The sky-shocking crossbow was originally very angry. Now that it saw that Qing Shaoqing actually questioned it, it immediately fired an arrow at Qing Shaoqing. Although Qing Shaoqing dodged the arrow, he was also half-dead angry. He said angrily, "Sky-shaking crossbow, if you don't restrain yourself, I can only throw you into the crafting furnace and reforge you." The sky-shaking crossbow could not help but tremble. This was what the tool spirit feared the most. Once it was reforged, the tool spirit would also die. It was angry and aggrieved in its heart. It was clearly not to blame for the matter, so why should it be scolded? The crossbow wished it could use its crossbow to turn Qing Shaoqing, who had wronged it, into a hedgehog, but it did not dare to do so. At that moment, Qing Si felt the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring vibrate. She used her sleeve to hide the sound of Yun Chujia's voice coming from inside. "Miss Qing Si, this is a good opportunity to subdue the crossbow. You can pacify it with a few words and say that you can help it take revenge. It will definitely acknowledge you as its master." Qing Si's heart skipped a beat. She quietly glanced at Yun Chujio, who was standing not far away, and walked to the front of the crowd. "Heaven-shocking crossbow, I know that you have been wronged. As long as you recognize me as your master, I will help you take revenge." Qing Si's voice was not loud, but her tone was very determined. The heaven-shocking crossbow was so touched that it was about to cry. Finally, there was someone who understood it. Just acknowledge it as its master? It did not want to be controlled by others. It felt that freedom was more important than anything, even though it was just a crossbow. At this time, Qing Jin screamed sharply, "Qing Si, are you crazy? You actually want the sky-shaking crossbow to acknowledge you as its master? You really overestimate yourself." Qing Shaoqing also said unhappily, "Qing Si, why aren't you stepping down? Don't cause trouble." Qing Si said lightly, "Second elder, as long as you are a member of the Qing family, you have the right to fight for the sky-shaking crossbow to recognize you as its master. How can I be considered as causing trouble?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.